and I think you're dealing with an educational institution. But what about the food services and situations in those, you know, the presence of Coke machines,
yes, right. I understand exactly what you mean.
Is there any way that these kinds of things might be controlled, or perhaps in a cafeteria, you know, where you've, did you look at that from that perspective? What did you find in reference to that?
Well, in reference to this, you're absolutely right. We find in at all of the different places you might have vending machines that might have, you know, sodas or nabs and things that are high in fat with trans fat in, that needs to be changed. We've seen that on the more national level now, that many places like McDonald's and other fast food restaurants are having to show the calories that's in a hamburger or a cheeseburger or some of their diet. But those things, I think, will help people make better choices at what they're eating and how many calories they're getting out of one hamburger that might be 500 calories. And if you get on a treadmill for 30 minutes, you might burn 300 calories. And then if you're eating more all day, you haven't really helped your situation in overweight. So yes, I think these things need to be changed. We need to identify that, and I think parents for younger children need to understand that they need to not allow their children to eat at these vending machines, and if we're not doing it, they'll take them away. But yes, I think a lot of attention has been focused on that. I think here in the state of Tennessee, I've heard our governor and our mayor talk about this as an issue, and indeed they are wanting to try to change some of the things within the school systems for better eating. But it's not a school system problem. I want to be perfectly clear from a sociological point of view. It's a home problem, and we have to change what's going on at home. The kids that are on the bus going to school are not getting obese by being there because they've changed PE. It's at home. And what we're eating there and what we're not eating there correctly and what we're not doing is exercising. The data actually shares that if you see an obese child, about 50% of the time there's going to be one obese parent within that particular family. You see, so there's this endearing relationship that's going on that is causing the child to eat and overeat, and we're living in a sedentary society where instead of them exercising, they are playing with video games and doing those types of things rather than riding the bikes or running and climbing a tree or running up a hill having fun doing that. They're abstractly thinking they're improving on something by getting a higher score, sitting down at the television with video games. So this is one of the causal factors related to it.
I tell you. And
yes.
Well, it seems to me that it's almost, well, as we've said, it's a personal responsibility kind of thing. And if a parent is not concerned with it, it's almost impossible to have a child because the parents are fixing the food and are making provisions for the food.
That's right.
And if they themselves are not conscious of it, are overweight and et cetera, then the child would almost automatically fall into that same kind of situation that they're in.
That's true.
Do you find that?
That's what we find very clearly. And then it's even much more difficult if you think about on the college level where I'm doing the research, because when people go back home for Thanksgiving, if I was able to change their attitudes about doing this, and they go home where grandma and mom and dad have cooked the Thanksgiving dinner, and how dare you think you're not going to eat some of this? Who you think you are? So it's this intergenerational.
That's right. Pies and the cakes and the whole thing. It basically eliminates all of the efforts that you've made in reference to trying to improve their
So
life.
it's intergenerational, and so we really have to focus in on it, and everything eaten in moderation. If you even at festive occasions, you might overdo it a little bit, but do it in moderation and be conscious of it, and then go out and take your walk after you've done it. Yes.
But I think over the last minute and a half that we have here, Doctor, that this whole idea of pointing out the health issues and the diseases that are generally associated with that. It seems to me that if people recognize that they will lose limbs, they will have shorter lives and etc., that ought to be some kind of moderated factor, but it really doesn't seem to. How did your study find that?
It doesn't. Well, you're absolutely right. It causes even things within the joints and the knees. It impacts that. But I would be remiss not to kind of reiterate a couple of items that we can do as a recommendation. One is to be very conscious of it, where we are on our BMIs, how much we're weighing. Education, where we are, and how we can do something about it. Exercise and diet is the formula of the day, and if we can get on board and start exercising and eating correctly, we can have an intervention into this problem.
And so you're saying over the last 45 seconds that we need to do this,
Yes.
and we need to make it a national priority,
Yes.
and we need to do it. We need to do it all across the board, regardless of race, religion, or previous condition, and
That's
that
right.
it will help us from a national security point of view in order to do this. Is that what you're saying?
I am absolutely saying that, and I would even bet you, if you're thinking about those entering into the military, they're probably coming in out of shape, overweight, and they're probably having to turn people back there disproportionately. But I want to end by saying this is a disproportionate problem within the African American community. When you look at all of the chronic illnesses, it's still disproportionate within the African American community in comparison to the majority group.
And of course, let me thank you for bringing that excellent information, and let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and